Hi, my name is Brianna Lacates. This is the history of the world from Delaware, and today we're going to talk about the Scramble for Africa and bicycle tires. To start off, the Scramble for Africa took place during the late modern era from the late 1800s to the early 1900s and involved the fast takeover of Africa by Europeans. Most of the reason behind this was because they had discovered there were plentiful resources there that weren't being used and that the African kingdoms and tribes weren't as strong as they once were. They had previously tried to go into Africa before during the Atlantic slave trade, but couldn't because of malaria being rampant, being unable to really intimidate Africans whose kingdoms were mighty, and only having ships with sails that couldn't make it up African rivers. However, now they had machine guns that could fire faster, a cure for malaria, and steamboats that could take them wherever because they no longer had to rely on wind. One specific place in Africa that had been taken over was known as the Congo, and controlled by King Leopold II of Belgium. The king came into the Congo under the guise of benevolence and wanting to educate the so-called uncivilized people, but really just wanted resources such as ivory and rubber that were found there. A man by the name of George Washington Williams from the United States came to the Congo to see if the king really was educating them and found nothing but bloodshed, rape, and torture. A quote from a letter he wrote to Leopold states, "Against the deceit, fraud, robberies, arson, murder, slave raiding, and general policy of cruelty of your Majesty's government to the natives, stands the record of unexampled patience, long-suffering, and forgiving spirit, which put the boasted civilization and professed religion of your Majesty's government to the blush." Basically, it was what Europeans have always done when they claim to be helping the native people. They abused and killed them instead. Now, the object being discussed today is the bicycle tire. The first bicycle created in the mid-1800s, known as a velocipede, had iron tires, but the next evolution, known as the penny farthing, was the first to have rubber tires. This made the ride easier and less bumpy than the iron ones. This was also during the time of the Industrial Revolution and patents, which is a license that can be put on an invention so that no one else can steal the idea. So, of course, rubberized tires were patented. Bikes were a way to get around quicker and also a way to have fun. There were even women bikers who soon wore a new style of pants called bloomers, which would help them when riding, but when not riding, they could wear it under their dress. But sadly, back to the bad stuff. So because of these bicycles with rubber tires that were becoming a big thing among people, rubber became more in demand, and the Belgian Congo forced the Africans to harvest rubber from rubber trees. They would have to get a certain amount collected while their women were being held hostage, otherwise the women would die or the men might even have a hand chopped off. Because of all this, the mortality rates increased in the Congo because of famine, since no one had time to hunt or farm. Another thing is that because of high demand from new inventions being created, many European colonies tried to cash in as much as possible and force their way into other lands for resources regardless of what the cost of human life was. They used the people there as slaves ultimately to harvest the resources and told everyone else in the world that what they were doing was good for the natives. One last thing as well is that rubber trees actually take about 15 years to grow and mature to be harvested, so their best bet was to find wild rubber somewhere. The best, of course, was in Central Africa, around the area of the Congo, where they had rubber vines that were growing everywhere and could be harvested. So all in all, the Congo was the place to go for rubber, unfortunately for them. Even after all that happened in the Congo, if we didn't get the rubber at the time, bicycles and even cars wouldn't have been invented, and it would have been way later down the road that we would have these things. We may not even have had them at all today, in fact. But what happened in the Congo still affects them today, I'm sure as well, because there was even more brutality and racism going on that contributed to the current situation we still have as well. However, the Belgians and all Europeans then still relate to us now because we still go out into other places for resources, even if it means the environment gets destroyed and people get abused just so we can have the most advanced things. We're a lot more selfish like the Europeans than we think we are. Even though it may disgust us to hear about what Europeans did, like we could never do the same, in a way we still kind of do. Well, that's all I have. Thanks for watching.